Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Wednesday morning medical Qigong practice. My name is Mary Francis. I'm one of the Museum Lovely students. We are working on the Golden Eight series today. We're going to start with our warm-ups, the tapping, opening up. The feet are hip width, shoulder width apart, settling into the space. We scooch over. Starting with the tapping, 3 to 4 finger breaths beneath the belly button in the lower dantian. We're opening up the left side of the body first. Inhaling and exhaling through the nose. The tip of the tongue is touching the roof of the mouth. And we're traveling up the midline of the body. We're allowing the mind's eye to connect with the area with which we're creating vibrations, helping to activate better qi and blood flow. This helps promote the health not only of the tissues and the channels, but also the organ systems. Traveling down the yang side of the arm, the outside of the arm. Then over to the inside or yin side of the arm. Up to the very top of the shoulder. Maybe adding a little bit more pressure here. Before then wiping out anything you don't need or want, letting it go back into the earth. Switching sides. Once again, we're breathing in and out through the nose. Allowing the breath to permeate throughout the body. Trying to relax the mind into the breath. Trying to allow the breath to help relax the body. Dredging the channels as we release anything we don't need or want, letting it go back into the earth, and widening our stance so we can open up the channels in the lower half of the body, tapping the inner thigh and then up at the hip. Relaxing the shoulders, elbows, wrists. Continuing on, coming down the inner aspect of the legs. This is the yin side of the legs. Before then coming to the lateral aspect of the legs, the yang side. Once you reach the glutes, sliding that left foot closer to the right, maintain that hip width, shoulder width distance. Continuing on up, maybe backing off some of the force of the tapping more gently, waking up the tissues in the low back, waking up the kidneys, waking up that kidney energy. Resting the palms at the low back, moving down the sides and up the spine. We're starting to warm the tissues of the low back, warming that kidney energy. Resting the palms at the low back, closing the eyes. Inhaling through the nose, guiding the breath and the chi to the low back, allowing it to fill up with energy. Exhaling, allowing that energy to flow freely to wherever it's needed within the body. Inhaling, guiding the breath and the chi to the low back, allowing it to fill up. Exhaling, allowing that energy to flow freely to wherever it's needed. Continuing on at your own pace, making friends with your breath. And gently opening the eyes, letting the arms come back down to the sides. And then with that same mind intent, closing. We're going to work right into our Golden Eight exercises, the lung, large intestine exercise. Opening, reaching for happiness. Inhaling. Exhaling. In and out. Inhaling. Exhaling. In and out. Getting ready to close. Closing. Our heart small intestine exercise, the archer. Inhaling. Exhaling. In. And out. Getting ready to close. Closing. Getting ready for our spleen stomach exercise between heaven and earth. Inhaling. Exhaling. In. And out. Inhaling. And exhaling. Getting ready to close. Closing. Our Sanjiao exercise, turn and look back. Inhaling, exhaling, in, and out. In, and out. Getting ready to close. Closing. Twist and release our liver gallbladder exercise. Inhaling. And exhaling. In. And out. Getting ready to close. Closing. Kidney and urinary bladder bend for health. Inhaling. And exhaling. In. And out. Inhaling. And exhaling. In. Out. Inhaling back to the start. closing. Energy punch, the Ren channel, conception vessel, opening. Inhaling. Exhaling. Inhaling. And exhaling. Getting ready to close. And closing. Energy jump for the dew channel, the governing vessel, 2 parts, opening. Inhaling. And then exhaling. Getting ready to transition to part 2, inhaling and exhaling. Closing. Keeping the feet together so that we can retain all that wonderful energy that we've been cultivating. Bringing the palms together. Transferring some of that warmth and some of that chi to the palms. Washing the face 9 times. Wiping the brow and under the eye 9 times. Wiping up and down the entirety of the nose 9 times. Lower, middle, upper aspects of the nose, inward and outward 9 times each. Imagining just underneath the pupil at the cheekbone, circles inward and outward 9 times. Dredging the channels of the scalp using all of your fingertips. Magic number 9. Beating the drum 9 times. Using all of the fingertips to grasp the ears. And then popping the cork 9 times. Philtrum, mandibular crease, inward, outward 9 times. and then massaging the jaw. Now our magic number turns to 12 times total, 6 times each side, brushing down the throat. Continuing on down the breastbone, 12 total, 6 times each side. Taking that energy, guiding it to the lower dantian, placing the palms of the lower dantian, closing the eyes. Here we're going to do a simple closing. Inhaling through the nose, guiding the breath and the chi to the lower dantian, allowing it to fill up with energy. Exhaling, allowing that energy to settle and store so that it may be used throughout the rest of your day. Inhaling, guiding all that chi that you've been cultivating over the past half hour into the lower dantian. Exhaling, allowing that energy to concentrate, settle, and store so that it may be utilized. Inhaling and exhaling at your own pace. Letting the mind relax into the breath. Allowing the breath to relax the body. And letting the chi settle and store so that it may be used throughout the rest of your day. Thank you, Qigong family. Henry, please take over for our Qi chat.
Hi. Good morning. Thanks for joining us today. Thank you, Mary Frances. That was an awesome practice. So we've been talking about control cycle, generating cycle, how these different elements in 5 elements interact with each other. Yesterday, we talked about the wood element and how do you generate more wood if you feel like you don't have enough wood, and how you maybe if you have too much wood, how do you kind of shave it back a little bit. One thing I do want to mention too is that you could overdo it. Okay, so what I mean is you can over control and you can over generate. So just like with everything else, we want to find a delicate balance, that yin and yang that we talked about maybe a month or 2 ago, about that S curve, right? So 50-50 is not always balanced. Sometimes it's 80-20, sometimes it's 30-70, sometimes it's 10-90. So every situation is different. And so you do have to be aware of not over controlling your wood. Like if you feel like you have too much wood, and this is very common in society, right? Because we don't value anger or passion very much. Like we tend to try to control it. We tend to see it as a negative thing, but it can be very powerful, and it can also be very appropriate in certain situations to be angry, okay, and to be passionate. So, and the control element for wood is metal. So if you can visualize, right, like you're trimming a tree or a bush or a flower, you're pruning, okay? And you can prune too much. If you prune too much, then you lose the wood. Okay, you lose that wood element. And you don't want to do that, because the core is you want to have a healthy amount of wood. And if you over trim, then your wood's going to disappear. And you oftentimes what happens in society is we try to control our anger, and that leads to also our passion being compromised. Like we don't, because anger and passion go together. So if you're shaving down your anger too much, you're going to also shave down your passion. It's going to just disappear. So you have to be careful of that. On the other hand, okay, if you're trying to generate wood, okay, the parent element is water. So it's like you're growing a plant, okay, and you're like so enthusiastic about that plant growing and to be healthy that maybe you overdo it, you overwater, okay, like water, right? So you overwater the plant, maybe you put too much, I don't know, fertilizers or whatever, you're trying to do too much, and you kind of spoil it, like a parent spoils a child kind of thing. And then that wood's gonna grow up not being very strong. It's gonna grow up perhaps being weak, or there might be some wood rot because there's just too much water. Okay, so you do have to be careful. And I love these analogies and metaphors. Hopefully they work for you too. But we want to find that delicate balance. So control is not always great, and generating is not always needed. So you really want to be able to know and be able to accept things as they are too. Sometimes, like maybe some people are telling you, well, you're too loud, you're too over competitive sometimes. Well, sometimes that's okay. Okay, a lot of times that's probably okay. You have to own who you are and be who you are. And yeah, sometimes you may want to tame it down a little bit. Sometimes you may want to generate more of it. But overall, like you have to also accept who you are right now in this moment, and really see, like, do you really need more of it or less of it, depending on the situation. Okay, so that just gives you some idea. So let's move on to fire real quick, because I really want to talk about fire too. So what is fire about in 5 elements as it relates to people and personality, right? We talk about people who tend to lead by their heart, right? People who tend to be more spontaneous, people who more like in the moment. And it's a lot about connection too with people. Now, like maybe perhaps we can do a comparison at a party. All right, so at a party, how do you find the fire people? Usually if there's a lot of laughter, all right, remember that the emotion of fire is joy, okay? So there's usually a lot of laughs, a lot of laughter. So when you hear that at a party, you'll usually find at the center of it someone who has a lot of fire, okay? So I know Edie asked yesterday, where are all the wood people? Well, it's very easy to find the fire people. Okay, so at a party, look for the laughter. So comparison, how do you find the wood people at a party? Well, they're probably talking about work at a party, or they're being competitive. Well, I have, 3 degrees, and, I've done this and that. And the other person say, oh yeah, well, I've done this and that, and blah, blah, blah. Or they're talking about sports too. Maybe they're over competitive. Maybe they're gambling with each other. Okay, so that's how you find wood people. Or maybe they're talking about how you pull out a tree stump from your backyard. Okay, so that's also very task oriented. While we're talking about comparisons to the party, what are earth people like? Okay, earth people are probably talking about their families. Oh, here's my, son or daughter, and here's some pictures, and oh, here's a video. They're probably the ones who are making sure everyone's well fed at the party. They're like making sure all the snacks are filled and all the drinks are being dished out. And then the metal people are probably, usually they're off to themselves a little bit. They're a bit more aloof, and they might be kind of, eyeing each other, or just people watching from a distance. They can be a little bit cool at a party, maybe a little bit too cool for school. And then the water people are probably mingle around talking about philosophy or politics. Some of they may be talking about some creative or imaginative ideas as well. So you have all those different types at a party. But going back to the fire, right? Like that leading by the heart, that spontaneity. So oftentimes we don't really honor that in society either. We tend to want to be more logical and lead by our heads, right? What makes sense for us. So we tend to, if you grow up being very fire, usually there's people around you who are trying to control your fire. So they're trying to splash water on your fire. Like, because what's water about is kind of like the bigger picture. Well, you gotta, study for school and make sure that you have a bright future ahead of you. So these are some water things, right? Because your water is about planning. So your parents may be trying to enforce water onto you, and so that could dampen your fire. And so if you have a lot of gift of fire when you're growing up, you may not honor that gift so much. And hopefully some of you who've grown up, that you've come around to honoring your fire and using it more. And some of you may not know the gift of fire because that's not your gift. And how do you, engage that more? So you can be around more fire people, around that laughter, and that's, of course, always infectious in a good way. Of course, too much of it, right? That over-generating, and that's from the wood. Over-generating the fire can go out of control. So you're trying to find a balance. And sometimes that fire, it's not just from people, but like alcohol is very fiery. So if you drink a lot of alcohol, that's going to add to your fire. So there's different angles you can look at it. And then, so generating fire is wood, and controlling fire is water. So you do have to find a delicate balance. You don't want to put out your fire entirely with water, as you try to keep it in balance. So hopefully that gives you some ideas, comparison, understanding of the different 5 elements, and how you can generate fire, how you can control fire. All right, that's good for today. So we hope to see you tomorrow. We'll talk tomorrow about earth, okay, and what earth's like, and how we can use generating cycle and control cycle. All right, thank you very much. Bye.